The purpose of this video is to show you how an engine works. Very basic concept, and I have to admit it's pretty deceiving. You have combustion chambers. Those are areas where the gasoline and the air are mixed, and you turn it on. It creates an explosion. This explosion is actually causing the gas to expand. While the gas is expanding, it is creating energy. So if we get closer, you could see this is an engine that has 4 different combustion chambers, and we call those cylinders. Into each one of these, you have pistons. And this is what a piston looks like. It's probably about half a pound, 500 grams. And this piston goes up and down. So, as you can see, the piston is down right now. What happens is the engine is going to find a way to put gasoline here, and at the same time it will put gas, then it will compress, and that's why we have this rotating wheel here, which we call the crankshaft, which will actually bring this compressor or this piston up. And at the moment it is compressed, what will happen, look at me here, when it is compressed, it is actually going to go this way, and then a spark will turn the gas on, and this power, this energy released will push the piston back downward. So there is a system which will cause this engine to open certain valves so the gas can come in, and then make sure the chamber is sealed, and then let it go again. This is what we call the valve concept. And it controls how the engine receives gasoline and air, how it compresses it, and how it will perform a perfect seal, a sealed chamber to allow that compression, and it goes on top of the engine. So if we look at it closely, from the bottom, we can see valves. You can see I removed 2 valves here. This is a twin cam because we have 2 series of valves. And over here, you can see when the valves are closed, then it is a sealed chamber, because if this goes on top of it, then it is sealed. When the valve opens, it is not sealed. 2 valves are for the air, the other 2 are for the gasoline, and here is a little spark. On one side of the engine you have the air coming in, and that will be the intake, and that's what this whole thing is about. So pretty much this goes on one side of the engine, and it allows the air to come in. Now after there is an explosion, which is combustion is performed, then we need to get this air out, and you can see on the other side there is actually the out exhaust, and this goes to your exhaust, and this is what comes on the other side of the engine, which is connected to the exhaust system right here. And you can see right now this starts to look more like an engine when I have this back on. Now, how does the engine know when those valves open and when they have to close? That's what we call the timing concept. There is a timing between when the piston is going to go up, compresses the gas, and when the valve knows the explosion has taken place, so it needs to open up to let the gas go. And it's not controlled by any electronics. It's pretty much a very deceiving concept, as I stated. There is a mechanical device which we call the camshaft. This is the device that will control the opening and the closing of the valves. If you can look at it for a second. If we put one camshaft here on top of the valves, and you can get closer, you could see as this camshaft is rotating, it is actually going to push certain valves. As it is pushing this one, it's releasing the other one. And now it's pushing this other one. And you can see there's a certain synchronization. Now, I mentioned this was a a twin cam. This is what we call a camshaft. There's two of them. I don't know where I put the other one, but it's okay. Let's just proceed. Now this is all connected to the engine by what we call a timing belt, because you see this thing over here? It controls the crankshaft, which is linked to the pistons. And the crankshaft is pretty much, it's very hard to see it, but it pretty much has a shape like this. Think about it this way. Look at it this way. You have a line, and the line has this shape. And you could see right away, if you rotate this line, then if there is anything connected to it because of different levels, it is going to make this movement. The way the gasoline is getting into the car is actually through what we call, in those new engines nowadays we have, is through injection. We call it an injection fuel system. All it is a bunch of injectors. If you would like to see what it looks like, there's an electronic device here which monitors how to control the injector. I will explain that later. But the gasoline, it's about this. Gasoline will be going from one side through the injector, which is controlled by an orifice, and then it will be expulsed through these little holes. I don't know if you can see it clear, but in here there's 4 different holes. Could you see them inside? Okay, perfect. So the way it works is you have 4 injectors, because this is a 4-cylinder car. They are all pointing towards the piston. Each piston has an injector, and the way it works is actually this way. When you're driving and you're pressing the gas, the pedal, we call it the gas pedal. In reality, for the injected cars, you are not giving more gas to the car directly. You're actually putting more air to the car. And believe it or not, when you're actually pressing the pedal, you're actually opening the air orifice, which is the throttle, right here. There's what happens when I open and press the gasoline. And gas is not going through, it's only air. So you're actually giving more air to the car, to this combustion chamber. Now that the combustion chamber, which is going to be actually pretty full of there's few sensors, as you can see there is a sensor here in the throttle. It knows that there is so much air going inside, so it's going to send an electronic signal to the injector, which is the reason why we have electricity going here, to say open up. And the injector will open up and more gasoline will be going through. So pretty much across the throughout the engine there's many different sensors. Each one has a specific purpose. That's about it as far as getting the what you may call it, the gasoline inside the car, inside the combustion chamber. And you could see the engine has a lot of different sensors, and I got one of them as an example. This is an oxygen sensor, and this usually goes into the exhaust side of the engine. And you probably have guessed the purpose of it. The purpose is simply if the after the combustion is completed, if the car is sensing that there's too much oxygen going through outside after the combustion is completed, then we can conclude there is a problem, that the combustion wasn't good enough because there's too much oxygen going through. So that's the whole concept of the oxygen sensor. And again, throughout the engine there's a lot of different sensors. Each car has a little mini computer with the purpose of each sensor, and if something goes wrong, the sensor will catch it up. That's why if you have a check engine light, you can go to any store, any mechanic store, and he could check for you what is wrong with the engine, what the reason is. I would like to briefly show you how the bottom of the engine works. And if you could get closer and have a look at here, you could see the 4 different combustion chambers. And you could see how here's a piston connected in the back that goes up and down. There's 2 at a time. Here are the first 2, and here normally we have the other 2. Pretty much that's the idea behind an engine. Everything else that comes with it is even more basic than that. As I said, it's very deceiving, and I wish in this 21st century that we had some other ways to run a car besides using gasoline this way. It's really a primitive way of doing the work, but it does the work.